From iconic heroes to memorable villains, character design plays a crucial role in bringing these personalities to life. Here are your nominees for Best Character Design of 2023.
人の女の胸気安く触ってんじゃねえぞこら失礼しました
誰が誰の女
か一緒にいんのは同業かボディーガードってこともあるか
美味しいよな術師でもないチューブを殺してさ
どうですか？はい。スポーティーなポニーテール、これも似合う。続けて続けて。やっぱり定番ツインテール。私は新人アイドル有馬カナ。
僕が脇目も振らずに走れるのはセカンドドライバーである徳丸さんのフォローのおかげなんですよ。よく言う。走るときは
どこかお出かけ？
動物園行くんだ。
明日暑いわよ。しっかり対策しないと。
ごめんね。
2、1
登ってゆくところを見逃さないでいて。ずっとついてきて。
から食わんかい。
いりませんってば。
あかんで好き嫌いは。
好き嫌いとかじゃなくて。
だからなんやねん。
Your jury winner is Onimai, I'm now your sister. And the public chose Oshinoko.
X, I don't think you're my sister. I don't think that's true.
I know I have this cute avatar, but no, I'm sorry, I'm not your sister.
So we're here for character design. I think we did the whole rigmarole last year of what is character design, but if you could give a brief summation of what it means to be a character designer, what does character design lend itself to in the world of anime?
So character design is kind of a very fluctuated thing to say. If you have a title that's originally from a manga, it's converting those designs into animated form. So you may have a bunch of line work from the original manga. Animators can't really draw that for every single frame. You need to convert those designs into something that can be more easily drawn to be animated and move around, unlike in the manga, which are more still panels. For some shows that are completely original, like in our group, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, you're literally designing those from scratch. And in specific for like Witch from Mercury, our character designer, Mogumo, actually kind of entered into a competition to draw that. Like Sunrise was saying, like, we're looking to create this new Gundam. So he's thought in Gundam's a story about a slightly inexperienced young male. So what would be the opposite of that? A self-reliant, commanding type of woman would be entertaining. So that's his first design for Gundam Witch from Mercury. And I think if we've seen that show, we all know Zuleta is not that.
Definitely not.
But that's just kind of a great example of saying, like, that's what one part of character design is. Or you could be like Kana, Hirayama, or Kappei and literally push for Oshinoko to be animated. And like is the major driving force, despite working on shows before and after its broadcast.
That's really interesting in that both of the examples you have brought up, it really seems like character design, which, if it's not something that you would normally put like quote unquote in the background, but it's not something that you would necessarily think is such a driving motivator. But as you just mentioned, they're almost like part of like large parts of the reason why these stories are the way they are. I mean, the whole idea of subverting the usual Gundam protagonist showing up into the character design is really cool to me.
Yeah. And like you said, like character design, this is going to be kind of your showgirl, your call-in person. This is what you're seeing for your very first glimpse into that show. I was in Shibuya right when Oshinoko was being broadcast, like right at that point. You couldn't look around without seeing 3 billboards of I just around. It was insane. And just seeing like that type of beautiful design really kind of sold me. This is much bigger than I ever thought it could be.
Now, Eggman, what were the jury thinking when they were talking about these designs? Were they looking at how well they animated, how unique they were. What were your total considerations when looking at these?
I would say our jury in particular had a pretty heavy emphasis on like outfit variety. And for example, in our winner, my hero in particular, kind of her character development was also reflected in the outfits that she wore. Like at the beginning, she's just wearing these loose clothes, which are probably more comfortable for her because she grew up as a boy and then she got turned into a girl. And then as the show progresses, you see that she wears more feminine clothing and just different clothes in general. She wears like kimonos and all sorts of different stuff.
That's really interesting. So almost like reinforcing the show's theme of I mean, some people consider Onimai this kind of like trans allegory. So literally in the beginning, kind of rejecting that degree of femininity, but over time accepting who you are.
Yeah, I would say another great example, also with a trans character in it, is Skip and Loafer. Now-chan in that show is very like understated trans design that doesn't fall into like the caricatures that other shows do. And Skip and Loafer also follows that same sort of principle of like the characters' personalities are reflected in their outfits, versus something like Jujutsu Kaisen, which the designs were simplified from season 1 to season 2 to help them be animated. And so we kind of take all that into account, but they just matter more for different shows. Like simplifying the designs was kind of a requirement for Jujutsu Kaisen with how much they were really trying to do in that second core, especially.
Now, Mega, you talk about seeing all this depictions of Ai just plastered all over Shibuya. What exactly about Ai and the characters in Oshinoko do you think draw that sort of attention? Because Ai definitely is eye-catching.
It's the combination. The designs are for beautiful people. I mean, Ai is being sold as this big transcendent idol that just draws you in. And Kape really did a great job at carrying that over from the original manga and just kind of making her have this cute but mysterious type of feeling to her where you're like, I really want to know more. And I think the idol MV really carried that over at the very beginning too. Like that's what really draws you in is I really want to know more about her. And so then that carries over to her children. And then also you have the variety of designs, especially with Kana, who is so expressive. She's probably the most expressive of all the characters in Oshinoko. And you get that nice range of expressions as you can see in our public picture up there. That's why she's our showgirl there.
She's our showgirl because our showrunner is Pak, who is he's a little bit of a Kana fanatic, but there's merit in the fanaticism for sure.
I will say that the character designer for Oshinoko said that Kana was the hardest character for her to draw, but she got fewer retakes for Kana than she did for Ai, and so Ai ended up being like the more difficult character when it came to put pen to paper, basically.
I mean, with every character, she had to be like, does this character look cute in a broccoli costume?
Or licking up baking soda.
Where do we move on from here? So we talk a lot about character design. We talk usually when we're talking about character design, we talk about people, but character design encompasses more of that, right? I'm wondering how much of an impact character design of, say, the different Gundams or kind of like monstery sort of stuff, like in Jujutsu Kaisen. How does that play into character design?
A lot of times those generally have like separate designers from specifically a character design. Like you'll have a monster designer, a mecha designer, and so forth.
It's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so some shows like G-Witch has, I think, 9 or 10 different designers. There's like original character design, main character design, and then there's 6 different mech designers.
Yeah. Mogamu actually spent like just so much time on each of the main cast, like those main 6 characters, that he just couldn't be able to do all the ones he wanted to do. So you need additional designers just to do the minor characters, or they'll title that sub-character designer. And then you'll also have like situations where you'll have differing thoughts on designs and can be put in. Like for example, the idea to put all the characters wearing pants in this academy was done by the director of G-Witch, not by Mogamu himself. Like that was kind of a way for them to feel like it's kind of different than Japan, because in Japan, most of the time, women wear skirts. And so that's just a way to kind of signify this is different than what we experience here on Earth.
So it's a pretty collaborative process then.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to, what exactly do we want to say when we're presenting these characters to the people, which is really cool. It's another aspect of animation and anime where it's literally show don't tell, right? It's like what can we address to the audience without overtly stating it in the story? And I think that's a really cool part of character design, because character design is a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
I was trying to segue, but you guys were talking about like, oh, we're gonna mention about the cat, but that's like a voice acting thing, right? What does that have to do with character design? 100 Girlfriends.
Well, you said we were going to talk about the top 3, so I kind of just put that aside.
The character designer for 100 Girlfriends voices one of the cats that shows up in the show.
I didn't know that.
She's just credited as Neko, but she has now 3 cat CVs to her resume.
Talk about an impressive CV. Character designer, cat voice actress.
Also worked as a waitress for an Italian restaurant before becoming an animator.
What an eclectic life.
Yes.
So interesting.
She's done a lot of like cute designs for Prima Doll, Tozaki-kun, and Runo Oshigoto.
Do you think the Italian restaurant was field work? She was doing research.
I don't know which Italian restaurant it is. Like if it was Caesarea, then yes, it was definitely good research, because how many shows do we see go into a family restaurant now?
Man, I just watched like kind of a tutorial on how to order at a Caesarea, and their food actually is not very appetizing.
It's good. It actually is really good. I
Really?
do recommend it. Yes.
Okay.
It's like for some of the best value for a meal in Japan, it is really good.
I will literally email you a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, back to character design. Is now that our conversation is dwindling, Pock is ripping out his hair. Do you have any last minute things you'd like to add, or any questions you'd like to ask Eggman?
It seems like we have some differences between public and jury. You mentioned the outfit design was a big aspect of it. I also wonder, Trigun Stampede's a 3D show. Did you guys grade that any different than the other 2Ds?
And just to like add on to that, it's also a reboot of a beloved older show. So I'm wondering if any changes or any like reinterpretations also were taken into account when discussing that.
I will say, like, we don't think that 3D is inferior or anything like that. We kind of try to just take it for what it's trying to do, and we think that it did really well. I mean, we put it second. So, and the homage that was paid to Vash's original design was really well paid off in his 3D design, and they actually did a really great job with rigging all the characters as well, because Vash is kind of like this happy-go-lucky character at times, and he bounces around the screen really well for a character that is built around this static skeleton, but they can stretch and mold it to achieve what they want to with these characters.
I never thought about how differently you have to approach character design when you're working with a 3D model. Because, normally when we talk about character design, we talk about like silhouettes and stuff, right? Like how identifiable is this character? But I guess I never really noticed that in 3D, you also have to think about the actual model and skeleton and the limitations of that, which is cool.
Yeah, the silhouettes in Trigun were also exceptional, especially like Wolfwood. And because that show takes place in the middle of a desert and the sky is usually kind of this gradient or flat color, the silhouettes are really important because they will very easily help you pick out these characters in often what are dark settings.
That's all the time we have. It's been really great speaking with y'all. I really wish we could continue for longer, but I want to thank both of you for coming here and speaking with me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that's it. Scene.